was so turbulent, because I thought now we had a problem. We knew what the problem was. The solution was going to be very quick and we can fix it up. But when it comes to a person's life with emotions and history, it's like a roller coaster. Why? And so many times I remember I was a church pastor there, going to an empty church on my own to be by myself and kneeling there and almost crying, saying, "Why, God?" Well, tonight I'm going to draw back a curtain so that you can have a look behind the scenes. We're going to show you something incredible, and I'm going to first start with a story in the book of the Bible, Job chapter 1. I want you to follow this with me closely, because this will start to answer some questions you have about why is there evil in this world. Book of Job chapter 1, which starts like a bit of a fairy tale. It's a true story that happened probably around 2,000-3,000 years before Christ, early on. Verse 1, there was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was blameless, he was upright, and one who feared God and shunned evil. Whenever you see the words feared God, that means he took God seriously. He was in love with God and knew that God was his protector, his provider. Now let's have a look. We get a description now of Job's life. If you had a resume, this would be on his resume. Verse 2, he had how many sons? How many daughters? Verse 3, also his possessions were how many sheep? That's a lot of sheep, isn't it? 7,000 sheep. How many camels? 3,000. 500 yoke of oxen and 500 female donkeys. Now that's a lot of braying on that property. And a very large household, so that this man was the greatest of all the people of the East. This man was Job, and he had it all. Now this is where the book takes a turn. It's like God is over here and he's starting to pull back the curtain on this man's life, and he's going to show you what is actually going to happen now behind the scenes. You listen closely. Verse 6, I need to give you a bit of a background here. It says, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. Let me explain this. This is fascinating stuff. Somewhere in heaven, the sons of God, they're not human beings. These are other creations of God, representatives of other worlds. They're coming together for a gathering, and Satan is with them because, as we'll find out in the next program, you'll have to wait till then, Satan is actually at this stage the representative of earth. They come together in heaven in a meeting. Verse 7, and the Lord, that's God, said to Satan, where are you coming from? And Satan says, well, I'm just coming from the world. I'm just paraphrasing here. Verse 8, listen to this. The Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There is none like him in the earth. He's blameless, upright man who fears God. He shuns evil. Now this is where it gets interesting. Verse 9, and Satan answered the Lord and said, does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not made a hedge around him and his household and around all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But now stretch out your hand and touch all he has, and he will surely curse you to his face, to your face. What a challenge Satan is saying. He's only serving you because you blessed him of all his possessions. Put him in a hole. Give him a hard life, and he won't follow you. He will curse you to his face. Well, God accepted the challenge. Verse 12, and the Lord said to Satan, behold, all that he has is in your power. Only do not lay a hand on his person. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. Bang, I'm sure it was the next day. Job was sitting down in his lounge room, and there were 4 messengers that came to him in quick succession that day. Here's a knock on the door. Messenger number 1 rushes in. His face is pale, and he looks at Job, and he says to him, the Sabaeans, the enemies, they've raided our territory, and they've taken all the oxen. How many? 500. All the 500 donkeys, and they've killed all the servants, and I'm the only one who's left. Oh, that's not a good way to start the day. Next messenger rushes in, and he is smelling like he's on fire. He's smoking, this guy, and he looks Job in the face and says, "You will not believe what happened. I was standing in the field with the other servants and the 7,000 sheep, and fire from heaven came down and burned them all up. It was a smoking barbecue, and I only escaped to tell you this." And before Job can get his next breath, the next messenger comes in, and he's just freaked right out. And he said, "Do you know what happened? The Chaldeans on the other side, our enemies, they formed 3 parties, and they raided the camels, all of them, 3,000 of them, killed all the servants. I alone have escaped." But what shook Job the most was the 4th messenger, who walks in, ready to fall flat on his face, and says to Job, "I'm sorry, but I was just at your oldest son's place. Your children, your 3 daughters and 7 sons and the servants were having a party together, and this almighty storm just come out of nowhere and just blew the foundation off that house, and the roof fell down and killed your children, and only I have escaped." Let's read how Job responded in verse 20 of Job chapter 1. In one foul swoop, one day, everything that he had was gone. Except for his wife, but that's another story. Then Job, verse 20, he arose. He tore his robe, he shaved his head, he fell to the ground, he worshipped. And look at this, how he responds. He says, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, naked I will return there. The Lord has given, the Lord gave, the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." In all this, Job did not sin nor charge God with wrong. If I was there, I'd say, "God, what have you done? I can handle having the camels and the donkeys killed and the sheep and that, but my children..." Tell me something. Who destroyed his life? Was it God or was it Satan? I can't hear you. Was it God or was it Satan? It was Satan, wasn't it? Why is it that when a terrible typhoon and earthquake comes that just devastates thousands of people, that God gets the blame? Is it God who's doing it? If you listened to the program yesterday, God is a God of everlasting love. He does not want to harm you. It's the devil. In fact, the devil is the one who has spread the lies. He's sitting there chuckling in the corner as he's listening to people blame God for all the bad things that have happened in the world. Now, I know that you now have 2 questions. Why or where did the devil come from? And why is he still around? Are they 2 good questions? Yeah, if there's a devil there, I want to know where he come from. Because I know there's a God out there who's love and a devil out there who's evil. Where did he come from? And why hasn't God kicked him out or destroyed him? This is where the story gets interesting. I need to take you back to the start of time, when there was only God the Father, God the Son,